Okay, my name is Dr. Robert Young, and I'm meeting with Lou and Denise. And uh, are you in the Oregon area?
Upstate New York, Saratoga Springs.
Upstate New York. Okay, well,
Yep.
that was quite a miss there.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, upstate New York. I'm sure it's beautiful there, and I understand you had a snowstorm come through, and it's probably quite snowy. But
No,
so
actually, we only got 2 or 3 inches. We were in a band that didn't get much, thank God. Okay.
well, stay warm and.
Yep.
Uh, yeah, and be safe. But we're going to be talking today about, I believe, Lou. I mean, you can tell us a little bit about your history, your background, but I believe it surrounds a tick bite associated with a condition called Lyme's, and that was identified using Carrie Mullis's PCR testing or identification of the genetic markers associated with that. Are you,
Actually, when he diagnosed me, the information, okay, now I've had Lyme 3 times.
okay?
Okay, '06, okay, 17 and 18, 17 and 19. Last year, I was back
Hmm.
on antibiotics.
Hmm.
He diagnoses me with physical symptoms,
I
okay,
see. Okay.
which are most important to Dr. Bach.
All right. And what are your symptoms?
Um, off off balance, um, migraines, which I've had on and off for years anyway, which are just an aura and not a pain.
Hmm.
Um, right now, I mean, I'm having trouble walking. I mean, pain all over every joint in my body.
I see.
In '06, it was classic. Okay. My wife had to drive me back from Cape May. I got
Hmm.
bit. Okay. Went to Cape May. Okay. 3 days later, I came down with the worst illness I've ever had in my life.
Hmm.
And I can always drive. Okay. But they had to, with blankets, get me in the back seat.
I
Okay. And
see.
drive me home with my daughter. Um, Same things have happened the last two. Okay. I got bit again not this past spring, but the spring before by two ticks. And within a day, okay, I was having symptoms, okay,
Hmm.
again.
Okay.
Uh, and I went right in to see him and serious symptoms, okay. I was really sick for about 3 or 4 days.
And so
Uh,
what? So your basic treatment has been antibiotic treatment, or?
yes. Do you have those antibiotics, Denise? Did you send them to him? Okay. Yes. 3 antibiotics that he puts me on
Mm-hmm.
all at the
Okay.
same time.
Yeah. Well, as you probably already know, and I'm sure your good doctor, knows that antibiotics are generally directed at bacteria. I mean, that's why they were developed. The formation of antibiotics is the fermentation that creates an acidic waste product, and that, for example, penicillin. It comes from the mold called penicillium, and they basically ferment a sugar and create an acid, and then they inject that into the body. Uh, so I'm not a really big fan for antibiotics because they're number one, they're indiscriminate. Number two, they're directed specifically based upon a germ theory, which I'm coming from an environmental theory. For example, if you're bitten by a rattlesnake, uh, what causes the problem? What could cause the death? Is it the bite, or is it the poison or the venom? The venom that is actually infused into the body fluids. And what happens is any toxin, whether it's coming from a tick or venom from a rattlesnake, a poison, even if you ingest it like glyphosate, or if you breathe it in, such as black carbon or carbon monoxide. I mean, carbon monoxide poisoning, uh, or titanium dioxide. These are all air pollutants, whether it's food pollutants, uh, air pollutants, water pollutants, whether you're bit by a tick or a snake, the venom from these or the toxins from these, whether they're micro or nano, does not reside in the blood. It gets pushed out to the interstitial fluids. The interstitial fluids is the largest body of water in the human body. It's the fluid that surrounds all the cells that make up all your organs and organ systems. So it's not like you have a liver just and a mass, or a pancreas or a brain or a heart, and it's just a mass of matter. No, it's actually thriving in a pool of water, and that pool of water is called the interstitial fluid, and the interstitial fluid makes up the largest organ of the body, called the interstitium. So if you're bitten by a tick, and the poisons from that bite, like for a mosquito, go into the bloodstream, it doesn't stay there. It gets pushed out to the interstitial fluids, and those interstitial fluids affect other cells, and it could be your bone, it could be your muscle. But the purpose of the of this process of the body trying to purify the blood, because if the blood becomes compromised by 0.2, you go into a coma and you die. So if the pH of the blood drops from 7.365 down to 7.265 to 7.1, you're dead. So there's a very narrow range. So what happens is the body pushes this out into the interstitial fluids, and the same thing happens when you overexercise. Uh, this is why athletes walk themselves out. Horses, after a horse race, they walk out these acids, which are called lactic acid. Lactic acid is a major waste product of metabolism, but you can get it from food. There's other ways to pick up lactic acid. It's also a byproduct of metabolism. So what I find in people that are sick, regardless of their diagnosis, if they have high levels of lactic acid in their interstitial fluids. Now, the reason you don't know this is because there's not a doctor in your area that actually tests the biochemistry of the largest organ of the human body. So they're only basing their diagnostics off about 10% of the body fluids, i.e. the blood. And it's not, I mean, I understand this is what they have and this is what they go, but it's generally too little, too late, and it's really not representing the true picture of what's going on with you. And what I would suggest to you, and I'm quite confident about this because I've been studying these fluids now for over 3 decades, and I've published scientific papers on it and peer reviewed, particularly with severe acute respiratory disorders, lung diseases, which are actually interstitial fluid diseases that are causing cellular breakdown. But the scapegoat in this is to pin it to a virus, and yet the viruses have never actually been identified. But that's another subject. It's not really important whether they exist or not exist. What does exist is the symptoms that you're having, and the underlying cause of that is a conversation that depending on what side of the fence you are on, whether you're on the germ theory versus the terrain theory. I would suggest to you that your condition would be more correctly labeled, if we want to label it and put you in a box, so to speak, would be decompensated acidosis of the interstitial fluids. And what that means is, that your cells that make up your bones and muscles, your connective tissues, are inflamed due to the environment has been compromised. And we could debate why. It could be food related. It could be a combination of food, air, water, a tick bite. I mean, it could be a combination. I'm not suggesting that the tick doesn't contribute to a state of imbalance, but it's very difficult, unless that venom is very, very toxic, even a mosquito bite, to really cause any really long-term serious health challenge unless there's a compromise already within these fluids. So the best way to really test this, since there's no one in your area to really test the biochemistry of the interstitial fluids, and so you go in for blood tests, rather than getting false positives on this or false negatives, the best test to do is a urine test. And the urine test can be done at home, and it's very simple. What you do is you take some pH hydrant paper, and with that pH hydrant paper, you test your urine for the next 72 hours every time you urinate to get an average. And what you'll find is that the most acidic times of the day are around 3 a.m. in the morning, and that'll continue unless you take an alkalizing dose of something to neutralize that, or if you go out and sweat it out or walk it out. But in your case, you're having trouble with your, mobility to be able to move or exercise. It's painful. So, I mean, you don't feel like exercising. So, I mean, well, what about sweating? Sweating is one way to get it out. And that's where infrared saunas. But you have to take an alkalizing dose to neutralize this. And antibiotics will never take you there. They haven't before, and they will not today or in the future, because we're not dealing with something that we have to kill here. This kill mindset of something has invaded your body and is now killing you is, I would suggest to you that nothing is the prey of death. Nothing. Mosquitoes, ticks, snakes, they're not killing you. What happens is, if you have something like this happen, the body does its best to neutralize the venom, and that's what you need, an antidote, an anti-venom, not an antibiotic. That's the difference between the germ theory and the terrain theory. How do we neutralize the acidic waste? Because if you take a rotten apple and you put in a bushel of healthy apples, you know what's going to happen. The apple and its waste, the acid is going to poison the rest of the apples. And so you're kind of in the domino effect. So the question is how can we increase our alkalinity, and are you in a state of decompensated acidosis? Well, like I say, going back to the testing is testing the urine, particularly the morning urine, the first urine, because that'll give us an idea where you're at. I would suggest that
we've been testing it for the last week.
Okay, so what is the urine pH?
Early morning. Okay,
Yes.
First pee in the morning is probably 6.4.
Okay.
Okay, my third pee is generally around 7.4.
Okay, well, that's good. The body's responding to that, and that's interstitial fluid. For healing to take place, you have to be at 8.4 to 9. So you have to literally,
Okay.
you literally have to force, I call it, you have to infuse, you have to hyperalkalize. Okay. So if you cut your hand, or the blood and the area of that will once you cut it, the life force energy will drop, acids will build up. But as soon as that cut happens, there's actually a reverse in polarity. What was positive goes to a negative charge, and everything is attracted to that area. And so blood goes there, blood clots. It then forms a clot. It provides, then the transformation of that clot into new skin. So healing takes place, and the body can only heal two ways. It either scars or it regenerates. So if the environment is not correct, and that's an environment of 8.4 to 9, if it's not within that parameter, then you end up with an inferior healing process. And so you have to hyperperfuse alkalinity into the blood, which then goes, whoa, I can't handle this. And so what does it have to do? It says, well, I'm getting rid of this. I mean, blood can't handle high acidity, and it can't handle high alkalinity. It loves 7.365. So when it receives a dose of poison, it gets rid of it, like from a snake bite or a tit bite or a mosquito or something bad that you might have eaten that you didn't know was laced with some sort of pesticide or herbicide. So it has to get rid of that. So because it wants to be at that delicate pH 7.36i. So it pushes it out into the interstitium organ and holds that in compartments. And that compartment, if it's not released into the lymphatic system and out through urination, goes into the connective tissue. Oh, that's not good. Because if it goes into the connective tissue, then you can't walk. You can't, yeah, I mean, without pain. You can't move without pain. So that's what's going on with you. The pain is a result of the body's inability to remove its own waste product. So the symptoms that you're having are real. And the symptoms you're having is the body's, particularly the organ, interstitium, is having trouble removing this out through normal elimination. So that's a lymphatic problem. And lymphatic problem has two hearts. It's your right calf and your left calf. And if you're not contracting those continually to move lymphatic, then things stagger. So when you're laying down, you're not contracting your calf muscles. Your heart's always beating. But the two largest muscles in the body, or two, you have three hearts. You have your chest heart, and then you have your heart, your other two hearts in your calf muscles. Though that calf muscle is a heart. Just like its purpose is, when it contracts, is to pump lymphatic fluid. So somehow that has to get moving, so that lymphatic's moving, but it has to be open too. So one thing that we have done, besides doing this from, let's say, a holistic, uh, using three types of amino acids to improve circulation, and they're well documented, they're well researched. One is called L-arginine, the other one's called L-citrulline, and the other one's called L-ornithine. In combination, taking those at 10 grams per scoop in small amount of water, and I say that 3 ounces or 120 mLs, 3 or 4 times a day, this opens up, circulation. And I don't know if you're suffering right now from cold hands or cold feet or lightheadedness or dizziness or muddled
All of-
thinking. All of
all of it.
those? Okay, that's a circulation problem. That's not a tick problem. Okay, now it may have been a contributing factor. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying it's probably a combination of things. Okay, it could be worry, it could be, stress, it could be,
I'm
what.
under ungodly amount of stress. I've been involved I'm a builder. Okay.
Yeah.
On a $4 million job, and I've had serious issues, especially since January of last year. And I'm worse than I've ever been.
Well, there's your tick right there. I mean, I would suggest that stress, and others that talk about this, can be a serious contributor to metabolic acid, because what happens, and you can agree or disagree, but I think you'd agree with this, that when you're having challenges like you're having, you can't stop thinking about it. And,
Right.
and you're in the process of, how do I solve this? Right? Okay, well, when you're
Yep.
thinking, that whole process puts stress on on the amygdala, which is your emotional center, and it puts stress on the astrocytes in the brainstem, which controls homeostasis. So it regulates your heartbeat, it regulates the biochemistry of all your body fluids. And so worry or fear, when you're in your thought processes, requires electron energy, and using that electron energy produces acidic waste that gets dumped into, guess what, the interstitial fluids, and that causes inflammation, irritation, and it can also eventually cause ulceration and degeneration. So 80% of all heart attacks, I would
You broke up. Okay.
so 80% of all heart attacks, can you hear me? Yeah,
Yes.
80% of all heart attacks are caused not by the heart failing in the sense of anatomically failure. They're caused by stress. They're thought attacks. And I would suggest that a lot of the waste that comes from that, if it's not being properly eliminated, will cause cells to stick together, like the blood, causing oxygen deprivation, and that causes lung problems. So that creates shallow breathing. It creates, when you walk up a hill, shortness of breath. These are all symptoms of pathological blood coagulation that is actually created from just the thought processes. So the thought process turns to biology and biochemistry, and that biochemistry, because it takes energy to have a thought, and if you can't sleep properly, if you're restless at night, you're not getting good adequate rest, then you're not removing the acids that are produced by brain cells, and that's done by the glymphatic system. So all of this are contributing factors to your condition. Now, I can't tell you not to think about things. I mean, how do you stop that? I mean, you are concerned about where you're concerned, and rightfully so. You work hard, you have a business, and you have responsibility, and you're trying to solve the problem. And it's just say, don't have any stress in your life. I mean, you don't want to. You're not. I don't perceive you as the kind of guy that just walks away from something. So I've had enough. That's it. I'm done. I mean, you're trying
Yeah.
to you're trying to solve this challenge. So I would say these are the contributing factors to creating your symptomologies, and they will not be resolved by antibiotics, because that's not the problem. That's like putting kerosene on a fire. Antibiotics are already acidic, and okay, is bacteria there? Yes, but where's it coming from? It's coming from cells that are breaking down. It's kind of like, oh, wow, you remember that food that we put in the refrigerator that I really enjoy, and we kind of forgot about it, and now you go back and look at it and it's all moldy? You're going, well, wait a minute, when did that happen? I mean, I put it in the refrigerator to preserve its integrity, and now it's all moldy. I can't eat it. I got to throw it away. Yeah, well, see, we don't get old, we mold. And it's a process of internal cellular breakdown that gives rise to bacteria. So if you take something that's going to, let's say, eradicate the bacteria, it's like, by association, that would be the wrong target. So the target I would suggest to you to consider is the fluids of the body. Now, this may not change your concern about your business and the stress you're going through, but it's going to make it feel totally different. I mean, because when you start feeling better, you start thinking better. And when you start thinking better, you start doing better. Even though the nature of the problem has really not changed, it's still there. It's just your ability to figure something out, or have an epiphania, of an idea to resolve it, or it becomes more tolerable, more tolerable. So I just want you to be aware that thoughts do contribute to our health problems, and
What the thoughts?
thoughts are a contributing factor to the way you're feeling. And the reason I brought that up, because I wanted to see if it was a contributing factor to your symptomology, and you've already confirmed that it is. It is.
I almost went out of business 10 years ago, and I lost my son, okay, to another company. Okay, so I've
Yeah.
had one thing, in '06, I had that tick bite, and I was very sick for a year.
These are
We've
these are
had
con-
a
these are
lot of
yeah,
stress.
these are compounding. These are
Yep,
compounding. There's not a pill. I don't have a pill for you for all that.
right.
I don't have a pill that brings back businesses and sons, and
Yeah, I know that, right.
so, and you never get over that stuff.
Never
Never.
what?
You never really get over this, in the sense of it's there. I mean, you have to move on with your life, and people will say that, and it's not that easy sometimes.
Hmm.
Okay, yeah, just move on. You
Yeah, the stress of that, I mean, is over, okay, but I've had continual items like that, okay,
yeah,
really for a long time. Yep.
yeah.
So
So
one thing that
yeah,
uh, I did read about last year in the Medical Mediums book
yes.
was that Lyme disease, he doesn't believe is bacterial. He believes it's viral. I don't know if that means anything to you.
Well, it doesn't. You know, you know, it, and it depends on definition. If we're going to take the true meaning of the word virus, and look back at the history of viruses, they used to be called filterable bacteria. And what they would do is they would take, material that would allow fluid to go through, but none of the nano or micro particulates. So they take this bacteria and the environment it lived in, filtrate out the bacteria, filtrate out, and all that would come through is the fluid. And that fluid would cause the same symptomologies as the so-called bacteria. And from that, they dropped the name filterable bacteria to virus, but the word in Latin means poison. Okay.
Yep.
So poisons are real. Chemical poisoning is real. Viruses, they're not real. They're and there's so many definitions. In fact, most scientists say they're non-living. Most scientists said they're fragments. I mean, this whole thing about the coronavirus, it's never been isolated in its whole. They have what are called fragments, and then they do a computer program and analyze it, what it might be. But there isn't a virus that's ever been isolated and never been proven.
Epstein-Barr is what he said. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say, that any virus is a form of radiation and chemical poisoning. And these poisons affect the interstitial fluid. And since my background is in quantifying this and validating the efficacy of what I'm saying, I have to quantify this. So I would suggest that you're in decompensated acidosis of the interstitial fluid. This is affecting your blood circulation and your lymphatic circulation. You're not completely eliminating this waste. It's building up and being compartmentalized.
Lymphatic. That's another word. Lymphatic. Okay. I had testicular cancer when I was 26, 27.
Okay. All right.
They had an experimental surgery. Okay. They removed the testicle. It was cancerous. They then did a radical, they call it a lymph node resection, where they cut me from here to here, okay, as far as they could.
Okay.
Took me all apart and found a couple of hundred lymph nodes that they removed.
Yeah. Okay.
Along my spinal column and amongst all my organs.
Well, okay. Since you're a contractor, I mean, you probably put in curb and gutter, right?
Oh, sure.
Okay. So every so often, and I don't know your business, okay? So I just know what I see.
Residential building.
Okay, so residential. So you have to put in curb and gutter. Now, ever so often, what do you have to put in, to allow the rain or whatever is coming down that gutter? What do you have to put in every so many feet? Don't you have to put some sort of an area where the water drops into a grade or some sort of?
Yep. Oh, a downspout that goes into a dry well. Yep.
Okay, that's what a lymph node is. Okay, what would happen if you removed all those drains?
Not good.
Problem. Okay.
It would overflow.
It would, yeah. Okay. You
That's
back
what
up
I'm.
on the
That's
road.
okay.
Yeah.
You can't take out 200. You only have 1,000. It took out 20% of your system. Okay, so you have a challenge here that has nothing to do with Lyme's. I mean, or Epstein-Barr or any of these viral things. You have a compromised lymphatic system, and the lymphatic system is the sewer system of your body. And if the interstitial fluid cannot move that out through the lymphatic system, and there's not those drains to literally, kind of, in the drains and the lymph nodes, you have white blood cells and they help to break things down, but they kind of hold things until things can move along the way. I think it's called a catch basin, whatever they call it. You have in construction, you have to put them in. They do.
Yes, catch basin, right. Dry wells, same thing. Yep.
Yeah, they serve a purpose. And so removing lymph nodes is the silliest thing that medical doctors do. Oh, you don't need these. Like, really, doctor? Okay, well then you have yours taken out. But they don't tell you this. I mean, as a contractor, if someone told you to take out 200 of your catch basins, you'd say, "Oh, really? Okay. What, to save money?" I mean, what's the point here? The point is those can be unblocked. They can start flowing again once you start making changes in lifestyle. So lifestyle involves how you live. It's what you eat, what you drink, what you breathe, what you think, what you feel, and what you believe. And so it's a contextual, holistic, environmental approach to your condition. I can help you, but I can't help you do it. You have to do it yourself. And you already know what the definition of insanity is, right?
No.
The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Yep. I remember hearing that. Yep. Okay.
Okay. So what you did in the past didn't work. It's not going to work this time either. Okay. In fact, it's going to make things worse. And so you're kind of like, and I don't mean to be disrespectful because, I'm not trying to force any of my ideologies on you. I'm just expressing my experience from a scientific perspective. And this is what I study. I study septic tanks. I study of the body. I study waste elimination, systems of the body. I study, the drains and catch basins of the body. That's what I do. I mean, I'm just putting it in your language. I don't know if I'm doing it very good, but that would be the analogy.
You're doing it very good. Yes, absolutely. I mean,
All right.
that's
So
very,
yeah, so that's why I came up with this metaphor many years ago. It's called the fishbowl metaphor. When the fish is sick, what would you do? Would you vaccinate the fish or would you change the water?
vaccinate the fish. Nope. Change the water. Okay.
All right. So you're a contractor, you're a smart guy. You can figure this out. I can give you some advice. I can give you some pointed advice and specific things to do. But I can't convince you against your own will. I can bring a horse to water, but I can't make them drink. All I know is if
Oh,
you yeah, I know if you'll
my
do.
wife can come in. Okay. I've been on so many diets, I can't tell you. Okay.
Well, this.
We have been on so many, and it works. And it works. We were at Hippocrates for a month 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Which is all alkaline.
You were
Came
there.
out of there feeling like $1 million, huh?
So you
What's
were
that?
at Hippocrates for 2 years for a month? Is that what you said, or did I miss that?
2 years ago, we were down there for a month.
Yeah, I was just
Okay.
being funny a little bit.
Yeah.
All alkaline.
It's
And we came home feeling amazing. Actually, we were there for 2 weeks and we extended
Yeah.
for 2 more weeks. Okay,
Yeah,
because we
well,
were feeling good.
yeah, because you're altering the condition of the environment. It's a contextual environmental approach rather than dealing with some specific invisible invader that's causing these diseases or dis-ease. I mean, there are no diseases. There are only dis-ease specific symptomologies. So the symptomology is whatever you want to label it at. Really, probably from your perspective, because of the way you feel, you don't care what it's called. You just, hey, come on, I want to feel better. I don't want to be in pain. I want to be able to run and not be weary, walk and not faint. You know,
Yeah.
I want to feel my toes again. I want to feel the extremities. So what I'm going to do for you, if you would like, with your permission, I would like to send you a list of suggestions, and I apologize in advance because there's going to be about 50 items on there. Now,
Nope.
you don't have to do everything, but I'm going to highlight by using asterisks, and you can decide, okay, I can do this, I can do this, I'll try to do this. So let's do as much as we can here. And the best way to do this is to kind of back into it. I mean, you don't have to jump in the deep end on this thing. You can kind of just put your toe in and kind of wade in and say, okay, I'm starting to feel really good. I mean, when you went to Hippocrates, you kind of jumped into the deep end there, which is good because it's a controlled environment. And if something goes kind of haywire, they can help you with that. And we with Hippocrates, we agree on about 90%. There's
Uh-huh.
about that, but that 10%, is critical too. So the hyperalkalization or hyperperfusing alkalinity starts with just changing the water that you're drinking. Drinking, high pH, functionally structured alkaline water at a pH of 10 or above with a electrical potential, meaning life force energy, which is really a measurement of saturation of electrons of the water that you're drinking to energize your body, because water is a catalyst that carries life force energy. I mean, that's why I don't recommend distilled water other than if I'm putting something with it. Distilled water is electrically neutral, but alkaline water, which is becoming more and more popular, even for those who don't understand the biochemistry of the interstitial fluids, or just basing it upon what they learned at medical school, just don't get it. Yeah,
We have an incredible filtration system because of my wife,
good.
and I'm a builder. Okay.
So all that.
She's got everything down there.
I don't have the alkalizing.
She doesn't have the alkalizing thing, she said.
Yeah, so that component you can investigate, you can look at, you can make a decision on what you would like to do in structuring the. But I would suggest that all the water that is not just filtered, but also functionally structured in a way that it's making a contribution to neutralizing some of these acids in the interstitial fluids, and also helping to reduce the amount of waste going through the sewer system of your body, which is the lymphatic system. So they don't talk much about this in medical school. Most of the biochemistry is forgotten after they start educating for this drug and that drug. But here again, for your purposes, water becomes a very, very important factor in this, and also salts. So there's a book I wrote called The pH Miracle, Revised and Updated. I'd like you to read chapter 5 and then look at also chapter 11, which is the actual protocol, and how much
We've
of this.
been reading it. Yep.
Okay.
As it, been reading it. Yep.
Yeah. So the book, the revised and updated version is a pub date 210. Make sure you have the 210 version of that.
Denise, 210 version of that book. Is this it?
Yeah, that's it. Okay, so you got it. And it's already got little post-it notes on there.
Yep.
So good. So
Probably chapter 5. Okay.
yeah. So anyway, are you a football fan or?
Yes,
Okay, are you going to watch the Super Bowl?
of course.
Okay. Do you know who one? Do you know who one of the major players is in that contest?
Yeah, both actually.
Yeah.
Mahomes and
Brady.
Brady.
Yeah. How old is Holmes?
24,
And how old is Brady?
42.
44, isn't he?
44.
Is he 44?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Uh,
Getting
so,
older.
so actually, he's getting younger.
No, he is,
Okay.
because wait till he tells you.
I know what you're going to tell me. Denise was telling me a couple
I
days
already
ago
told him.
about his diet.
Yeah. So when you're watching I want you to ask yourself the question: how can a 44-year-old play at the level of a very hard-hitting, demanding sport as football at the age of 44, playing with a bunch of punk kids?
Uh-huh. Okay. It's going to be a good game.
Yeah. The reason why is he's drinking the greens. He's drinking the water. He understands the alkaline lifestyle and diet.
Uh-huh.
And that's why he's staying young, and that's why he can stay young. And that research that's not even my work. I mean, it is my work, but it's not when we talk about longevity, when we talk about, vitality, when we're talking about wellness, when we're talking about physicality and staying fit. It takes dedication, takes commitment, It takes belief. And that belief comes from our experiences, which forms our perceptions, which then bring us to, hey, this stuff really works. So, he bought into it many years ago because his goal is to retire in his 50s. So he's going to be playing football for the next 10 years. Okay. So this is not his last. You'll hear him at the end after he wins Sunday's game.
Okay. I like that optimism.
Okay. So after he destroys this punk kid, this 24-year-old, literally picks him apart, okay? Not only with his intelligence, which is a factor of a healthy gut, because you have 2 billion neurons in your gut. You have more brain cells in your gut than you do in your head. And it's really hard under pressure when you eat the kind of foods most 20-year-olds think they can eat and get away with. When the pressure comes down, it's really hard to make good decisions. So the only reason I say this to you is life is a choice and death is a choice. Death is not decreed on any of us. We've just accepted that as reality because that's what happens. But it doesn't have to happen. And the Nobel laureate who received the Nobel Prize for determining that we can live forever if we choose to, his name was Alexis Carrel. He received the Nobel Prize in 1964, something like that. Doesn't matter. He died in the early 1900s, like 1906. But he's the father of modern day transplantation. He was able to keep a chicken heart alive for over 20 years. Chickens don't live 20 years. That's because of the way they eat. They don't eat very good, and they don't take care of their bodies. They don't know how to. I mean, they're eating rocks and all kinds of crazy things. But the bottom line is that what he did in his research was he changed out the fluids every 72 hours to maintain the alkaline design of those fluids in order to maintain the integrity of the cells. So Brady can be a professional football player in his 60s, in his 80s. I mean, that takes a tremendous amount of commitment and dedication, because what happens to most people is, I'm tired of doing this. I'm going to retire, and they go home and lay around and start eating, stop exercising, start doing things and that happens to a lot of us. But the bottom line is he's not in that mindset. I mean, he's going to go down in history as not just a football icon, but the greatest athlete that has ever walked on this planet, because that's his mindset. Okay. So he's playing with 20-year-olds, and he's 44, and I have complete confidence he's going to pick that team apart. Now, unfortunately, or fortunately,
how much you got? You want to bet? You want to bet?
Well, I'll do a friendly bet, right?
Okay. We got to bet. Okay.
We got to bet.
I am for both of them, and I'm having a hard time deciding. Okay, because he's so young, and the other one's so old. Okay.
Okay, but don't underestimate. With age, there's wisdom and experience, and his athletic abilities, his physicality, are as good and probably better than that 24-year-old.
I'll bet.
Okay, because he's protecting the interstitial fluids of his body. He understands that his health of his organs and his muscles is a reflection of his blood, and his blood is a reflection of what he eats and what he drinks and what he breathes. So in chapter 5, a reason I want you to read that chapter is because it's called COWS, COWS. And COWS is an acronym that stands for chlorophyll, oil, and water and salt. And those are the 4 food groups. Those are the ones you need to stay with in order to facilitate the outcome that you're looking for. Better health, better vitality, totally pain-free. And this can happen very, very quickly for you. It can be totally out of this box that you've been put in, which is the Lyme's box. You can literally break yourself free from it. So that's what I'm suggesting to you. That's probably more than enough to say for right now. other than I promised you that I would send you an email, kind of making a list of things that
Right.
you could consider with that.
Dr. Young, can I
Yes.
just interrupt one? I just wanted to say one thing, and I've been holding back ever since the beginning. I have deteriorated so much in the last 24 months. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
24 months have been the issue with this job, but my muscles are receding. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like my calf muscles you talk about.
Yes.
Okay. My shins. Okay. I mean, my calves are receding towards my knees at an alarming rate to me. Okay. I mean, all I am is bone. Okay. Most of the way down my shins.
Okay.
At times, okay, I have chest pains. I have air hunger. All day long, it hurts to breathe,
Mm-hmm.
even shallow. I am a big shallow breather.
Mm-hmm.
At times, I've actually been fearful, which I've never told Denise, that Lyme is taking me out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when I get these chest pains, and I've read the stories about Lyme
Mm-hmm.
and people not being able to walk. I mean, I've had days where I can't get downstairs. Okay.
Okay.
We were supposed to go to the White House with my commander's son-in-law. Had to cancel. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Invitation to the White House is not easy to get. And we canceled going down and going with our grandchildren. Okay. Because things are so bad over the last 2 years.
I'm so sorry. Okay.
So,
Well, today,
and I rebuild myself.
well, let me explain what's happening and why it's happening. Your muscles are going into atrophy, and they're being what I call is called reverse transformation. Reverse transformation is when the body makes blood out of your own body tissues, out of your body cells. And so that's a reflection of the health of the gut, because stem cells, embryonic cells, are made, this is not taught in medical texts or medical school, but stem cells are made. We're talking about embryonic cells that become erythroblasts, which then become erythrocytes, which are your red blood cells, from the food that you eat, that is biologically then transformed in the crypts of the small intestine. You have a root system. That root system is called the intestinal villi. It's like trees that have roots. Your roots have been damaged. And so it's very, very important when I send you this list that you really consider focusing on the foods that will build blood, because blood is the key to building muscle. It has nothing to do with protein. Nothing, nada, zero. If you want to regenerate your muscle and your bone, you do that by building blood. And you stop this reverse transformation, that this breakdown of muscle and bone to produce blood, because the blood is producing at the rate of approximately 5 million red blood cells per second. And if it doesn't have the right material in the gut, or if the environment's not correct in the gut, by the way, the gut pH is 8.4. And if that's not correct, then you can't produce healthy blood. And if you can't produce healthy blood in the amounts that need to be produced, then as an athlete, I can't help you to maintain the level of fitness that you desire. For someone who's sick, I can't do it either. I do the same thing for people that are sick that I do with some of the best athletes in the world. They want to build more muscle. They want to build bone. I say the first thing you do is cut out beef, chicken, pork, fish, and eggs. They're gone. Because if you keep eating them, you're going to destroy your root system. Okay, so what do I put in replace with that? Well, because of the state that you're in, you have to go to a baby food diet. So everything has to be purified, which means I don't have enough energy to chew food to a liquid state. So I'm going to trust this blender to blend and chew my food. So all I have to do is switch it around in my mouth and mix it with the sodium bicarbonate that's been being secreted by the salivary glands, swallow it, which takes stress off the stomach, and then allow that to seep into the small intestine and into the crypts of the small intestine to be biologically transformed into new blood. Okay? So I have to build
Yep.
I have to build up your red blood count. well, you do, not me, but this is what I'm suggesting. We have to build up your red blood cell count, and we have to build up your hemoglobin. The strongest animals in the world do that by eating green plants. The elephant, the rhinoceros, the silverback gorilla, all of these very strong animals are not on a high protein diet. They're on a carbohydrate diet, but specifically an alkaline diet of green plants or green foods. So that's the area that I need you to consider going to. And that's going to be part of my recommendation. So the COWS program stands for chlorophyll. That's green plants, green foods, green drinks, green shakes. Oil, that's polyunsaturated oils. W stands for water, functionally structured, alkaline, electron-rich water that literally can permeate the cell membrane and hydrate. And then the last one is salt. And I'm not just talking about sea salt. I'm talking about compounds such as sodium potassium bicarbonate that's found in a product that I created many, many years ago called four salts. It has four salts in it. They're the four electrolytes. And not, you don't get those from Gatorade, because you also get a sugar in there that destroys the whole value of the salt. So it has to be an electron-rich product that can conduct electricity and bring back your health again. So you can get your health back. You can regenerate muscle. You can regenerate bone. You can regenerate, yes, you can regenerate your whole body organ and be born again, but it takes approximately 9 months. Now, some organs are faster than others. Like for a liver, it takes 6 weeks. For blood, it's every second. It's every second. For bone, it's like 9 to 12. It's like 8 to 12 weeks, so 3 to 4 months. But this is how you get yourself out of this problem. And if you decide to go the other route, which I hope you don't choose to do that, because I know your wife cares a lot about you and loves you very much, and your grandchildren, then you're heading down a path that I don't think is where you want to go.
I'm 100% on board. Okay, 100%.
All right.
Okay.
So
really,
I'm going to treat you like Tom Brady.
Yep.
You
have a facility, Doctor?
Well, we did, but the bad actors and Luciferians don't like my work, so they don't want people living longer. They want people dying sooner.
That's right.
That's their program. And I know that's hard to believe, but there's about 300 of them, and most of them are billionaires, and they have no empathy, they have no compassion.
I'm following that. Okay. By the minute with Denise.
But the bottom line is they get excited when they hear that more and more people are dying, that there's more and more suffering and more pain. I mean, it's just their eyes light up, they start smiling. I mean, something's morbid about that ideology, but it's real. And I sense it, I feel it, I see it, and I also know it. But yes, I'm not in their favor because I'm not a Luciferian. I'm not a bad actor. I actually care about people, and I want people to live better. I want them to live longer. I want them to enjoy why they came here, to experience joy and happiness, and in not only in themselves but in their posterity. And so that's kind of my outcome for this. Yeah, for you, it's a lot harder. You have to do the work, but you don't do it week by week. You do it minute by minute, day by day, and you only take it one day at a time. Anyway, any other questions?
Okay. Well, I asked you if you had a facility. Would you recommend me going back to Hippocrates for a couple of weeks?
Yeah, if you're doing this program, not their program. I mean, this
doing your program.
Yeah. I mean, you can go there in a controlled environment. I mean, they have.
So I can't come to you. Where are you?
No, we're in California. The only place I have is over in Marbella, and then one in Sardinia, but all this is closed because of COVID, so
I understand. Yep.
Yeah, and people have to be PCR tested, and they have to get vaccinated, maybe, or maybe they can get in the country, maybe they can't, maybe they're quarantined, maybe they're not. There's too many
Mhm.
questions
Yep.
that are too stressful. So just take
So,
this one day at a time, one step at a time, one breath at a time. Try to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth.
Yep.
You know, I know that may be difficult. If you're having problems, I'm going to send a recommendation for to clear the sinuses and help you to breathe through there. I'm also going to make some suggestion about nebulization to put powerful antioxidants into the lungs so you can breathe better. These are non-invasive, non-medical types of protocols. I'm not prescribing any legend drugs to you, no antibiotics. I mean, that you can get from your doctor perfectly well, but that's not what I do. So,
Mhm.
so that would be a discussion you would have with them. What I do is a natural, non-invasive, holistic approach to changing, not treating any specific disease, but changing the internal environment so that cells can thrive and the anatomical elements that make up those cells can thrive. Because if not, they're subject to change. They'll alter their anatomy based upon their environment. And right now, the environment's not conducive for living and living well. So you're experiencing the symptoms of that. So that has to be changed as soon as possible. So when you get this list of things, and as you look at chapter 5 and chapter 11, which actually lists the protocol, if you need to have another discussion about this, then we should do that. Uh, whatever I can do to help to support you on this,
Yep.
and be watching the game because Kansas is going down.
Okay. I got you. I will be on your thing 100% as soon as I get your recommendations.
All right.
Okay. I need to get better for my family.
How old
So-
are you?
67.
Yeah. So I'm a few years older than you, but you shouldn't have these kind of symptoms, uh, but there's reasons for them. I kind of ask questions and want to find the answers, and if I can't find it in the research or the publications, then I kind of do my own thing. So
Mhm.
that's kind of where I've been. So I'm on a different path than most people.
Mhm. Well, I'm very anxious to get started on it and see what I can do. Denise has had me on a pretty clean diet for the last couple of weeks. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm beginning to feel better already. Okay.
Here, let me
So,
show you. Let me
well,
show
you're
you this. I'll show you this picture really quick here. This is
Okay.
the center, the place where I did receive patients for many, many years, at
God.
Valley Center at the Rancho del Sol. Yeah. But yeah, it's a beautiful environment. It was a Garden of Eden, and you know, thousands of
Beautiful.
people from all over the world would come there and enjoy that environment, experience, of which, you know what I'm talking about because you've been to the Hippocrates Institute,
Yep. Same thing.
the one in Florida.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I know those people. They're all good people. They've got great hearts and they're compassionate. They have, and they're successful in what they do.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that is an option, but take a look at the list first. And I mean, you can take that list and they'd be very open to maybe supporting you on those types of things that need to be done.
Mhm.
Are you recommending blending all of the food?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so at Hippocrates, it's like these big salads that you gotta chew and chew.
No. Takes too much of your energy. Yeah,
Okay,
you need to be start again. It's like a brand new baby, it's you just take blended and juice foods, yeah.
okay. And I forget what was the length of time? Was it like 8 to 12 weeks in your book? Is that what it says?
Well, as far as the benefits of this will be immediate. You'll start seeing changing take place within 14 to 21 days. But you continue with this
Oh,
until you reach your goal, and I'm projecting 12 to 16 weeks.
Okay.
all right. Well,
All
And
right?
I think I think we'll be on the phone if you've got room, okay, again in a week or two.
All right, good. Look forward to talking to you. All the best. Have a wonderful week and
Enjoy the game.
enjoy the game. Yes. All right.
On your puree.
We'll talk about it the next time we talk.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
All right. God bless you and your family and be safe. All right.
Dr.
Thanks.
Young.
Thanks a
All right.
lot.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.